This video is going to cover our basic skill topic for May and June. In this video, we're going to be talking about quick water delivery, or fast water. Now within this, there's two components. The first one is how efficiently and quickly can we get the line off the rig and get it charged. We've all seen YouTube videos of fires where there's an obvious problem, obvious exterior fire. It takes forever for the hose line to get off the rig, and then even once it's deployed, there's a long delay before that line is charged. So that's what we're going to focus on with this training event. Is we're going to practice getting the line off quickly, calling for water early, and then getting that line charged quickly. The other component of that is how quickly we can move from the door to the seat of the fire. We all know this will vary depending on the scene. It could be right inside the door, or we could have a long stretch. So with that, we're also going to have a quick review on how to set up the hose appropriately at the door to set up for a successful entry, and then work on some hose management techniques as well. Along with this drill, we're going to incorporate the DO skill requirement for May and June as well, and that's going to be the hydrant transfer. So all DOs need to pump this problem, supply a hose line with the booster tank, bring in a hydrant, and perform a hydrant transfer with this as well. With that assignment, we'll attach the hydrant transfer JPR to use as a guide. Also, Captain Rice, with the officer development, is going to incorporate the strategic and tactical level decision making with these types of fires. We can really use this tactic on a variety of different types of fires that we can arrive on scene to, and why not just practice and always have the line quickly deployed and charged if we know where we're going to make entry. But with fires where we have large exterior fires that are obvious upon arrival, or maybe a venting fire on the alpha side that gives us the opportunity for a reset, why not do this so our firefighter can go straight to work? That firefighter is our quickest tactical unit that we can deploy, and if there's an obvious problem, let them go to work. Even if we have a rescue on the outside, if they can get some water on that obvious fire on the front side, that's going to make that rescue easier on the back side. So enjoy the video, go out and train hard.
If our objective is to get water on the fire as fast as possible, the training of the coordinating between the driver operator and the firefighter working together and getting the water to the firefighter quickly works. Last year, Engine 12 had a fire at 2025. I was the DO and Hanson was the firefighter. And just a few days prior to that, Captain Macarini worked with us on that coordinating and getting the water to the nozzle quickly. And because Brian and I worked on that, and when we got on scene, Brian and I agreed that's what we're going to try, and we had water on that fire, outside in fire, in less than a minute.
All right, let's look at the key components to a fast water drill. Notice that the firefighter is exiting the engine fully masked up with gloves on, ready to go. This minimizes what they have to do at the door. The firefighter is then going to quickly walk to the rear of the engine. With our hose lines, we have two options, the 1 3/4 and the 2.5. Both hose lines deploy the same. What's key to this is checking your loads at the beginning of your shift, making sure that they're loaded properly. That proper loading is going to be key for effective hose line deployment. So in this scenario, they decide to choose an 1 3/4 attack line. Firefighter is going to load the shoulder bundle, let it clear the hose bed. That's very important. Grab the 2 loops. It's important to go straight back until you feel tension on that first loop. If not, the shoulder load is going to cross over your SCBA air bottle. Once this is done, they can turn, make their approach to the door. It's right at this point where the firefighter calls for water. At this point, he feels comfortable enough to deploy the hose line to receive water right as he gets the nozzle to the door. He's going to continue forward, making a straight approach to the door to do a forward deployment. He opts to lay the bundle on the ground, pop the cord. He knows exactly what to grab, stretches to the door, and then here you're going to see the water following up the hose line. That's that fast water. Hose is laid out pretty well. Now the firefighter can set their pattern. The DO can set a dynamic flow while he is watering the grass. Pay attention to the kink in front of the firefighter. When he bails the nozzle, it's going to dress the hose line very nicely. Let's take a look at this entire operation. You'll see the crew deploying from the engine as they would for any type of structure fire. The firefighter going back to the tailboard of the engine to pull the appropriate size line based off the officer's selection. The officer gearing up their SCBA and getting ready to head out for their 360. The DO is at the pump panel throwing the chocks down, setting up the pump the way that they need. They can quickly go over, kind of assist the hose line. The firefighter calls for water at this point. Firefighter chooses a forward deployment to the front door. Officer continues their 360. And as you're going to see, as the officer finishes the 360 and comes back to the firefighter, that's when they're going to have water. The officer can finish getting ready. They can make a fast entry while the officer is masking up. If there is any exterior fire or a reset, the firefighter can start addressing it at that time. All right, let's look at the DO component that's part of this drill, the hydrant transfer. Garrett hooks up his soft suction supply to his intake, calls for water at this point. You can see that he has both his drain and his bleeder open. That's appropriate for this engine. He's going to slowly open up his intake. The line is currently flowing, so he's doing what he can to mitigate that pressure spike in that line. So he's just taking his time, shutting off one of his drains. And then you'll see that right about 20%, whether it be an electronic valve or even a Harrington valve, that's where the hydrant starts to take effect. You can see that his intake pressure is close to 100 psi, and he was able to stabilize that line pressure pretty close to the 130 target. He's going to start filling his tank, monitoring his water level, double checking his gauges, and then reestablishing that line pressure to where it needs to be. Another drill we want the driver operator and the firefighter to practice the coordination of is setting a dynamic flow to the attack line. So in this example, you're going to see the driver operator charging the line. Right now they're flowing a little bit, but it's going to be shut off. And when that happens, he's going to set a static pressure of 130 to that attack line. Then the firefighter is going to open up the bail again, begin watering the grass. And as that happens, you're going to see that your line pressure is going to drop. Your governor will not compensate for this. So once you see that drop in pressure, the DO is going to increase his governor to reestablish the 130, the accurate line discharge pressure for that line, and make sure that we're flowing the appropriate amount of GPM.
So with any of these deployments, what we're looking for is to get all the kinks out of the line and also put the hose in a predictable way that we know how to move it into the structure. So we have the S-bed, right? With any of these deployments, you can end up with this, with the exception of the coil. So either the forward or the reverse, you should end up with an S. Nice thing about this is we know where our 50-foot mark is. There's my coupling right there. If I've got a short distance to go, I can place a firefighter at the nozzle, and that second person about 5 to 7 feet back, driving that hose in. Or if I need to drive a lot of hose into the structure initially, I can place another person here, and we can use our big muscles to push all that hose. That's the reason why we want to do that. It's consistent, and I know if I go on this side, it's a little bit of hose. If I go on with my hips with that bite, that's driving a lot more hose in. Okay, this is a reverse deployment, so I'm at my target and I need to reverse the hose away in order to flake it out and make that S-bend. I'm going to drop the hose off my shoulder. I'm going to give it a little step to straighten it out. Undo my ripcord, and then I'm just going to select a couple flakes in and walk them back. Okay, next we have the forward lay, and keep in mind, right hand goes with the nozzle. Okay, on these deployments, the right hand works the nozzle, left hand works the load. Okay, so with the forward deployment, that's something like a front yard or a parking lot, and I'm walking forward towards my target, my point of entry, or where I want to start flowing water, and I'm going to flake the hose out into that S-bend while I'm walking. So I'm going to pull my ripcord, right hand goes with the nozzle, left hand somewhere mid-pack. You can see my 50-foot coupling, so I know that's 50 feet. I'm just going to tilt my shoulder and walk it out. So our option for some of our fire problems like apartment or multi-residential that have a tight area and that we still need to get a decent amount of hose up there, well, we have the coil, and that can be done either from your shoulder, or if you lay the bundle down, you can do that from the ground as well. It's the same thing. So first what I'm going to do is get rid of my ripcord. Right hand works the nozzle, so I'm just going to move that out of the way. Left hand is going to work the load. So I just begin by stacking, just like a sewing machine or something like that, stacking these flakes onto my hand. That's already a ton of hose. If I don't need this extra, I can just toss it off. Once again, right hand has the nozzle, left hand has the load. I'm just going to keep my fingers up or thumbs up and tilt my shoulder just like we did before. Okay, still got the nozzle. I'll put that down. Now what I want to do is trace my arm through, because I want to get all those folds. Open it up big, take a step through. And so now we have 100 feet that's close to our target, that's in a compact area. Disadvantage to this is we don't have that S-bend anymore, but ideally if we're using this in a tight spot, going into an apartment or something like that, we probably won't need that much hose anyway. A couple options for the nozzle firefighter, one of them being the clamp slide. If you're in that clamp position, which is where your right foot is on the hose, about an arm's length the hose out, your bail's on the right. What I can do is I can hug that hose in, plant my right hand and kick my leg through. The nice thing about this is I'm ready to hit it and move. Another option for being able to flow water on the fire to gas cool or to hit fire and then advance is the brush lock off. And that's going to take a little bit different posture than we had with the clamp slide. Clamp slide being with your right foot down, left foot out. I was about a arm's length the hose. Well, with the brush lock, it's just opposite. It gives you another option in case that's something that's not comfortable for you. I'm going to have my right leg high. My arm's going to come underneath the hose, and I'm going to try to pinch the hose in between my body and my hips. I'm supporting the hose with my hand underneath. So it looks like this. You need to lean forward a little bit when you open up. But this is a very secure position. You can do this with no hands if you're doing it correctly. The nice thing is, very maneuverable. When I need to move, I just put a hand down, keeping that elbow tucked in. When you need to flow, I'm already in a position to do so. And I can keep advancing. So that firefighter that's doing all the work, the one that's pushing the hose into the structure, a couple positions for you on that. One of them is kind of like this reverse triangle, where I'm just trying to lift the hose up off the ground. I can plant the hand and keep that hose in between my knee and my hand, and keep my elbow tucked into my leg. I'm just lifting, underhand grip. And so when Gary feels that input, then he's going to move. So it looks about like this. It's just shortly bites. So another option for the firefighter driving hose in is that you can take that same position like the brush lock. Same type of concept where you're pinching the hose between your body and your hips. And you're driving in, just calling with that one hand. Gives you a little bit more heads up for visibility. It looks like this. So keeping it simple with corners, you can do this type of drill anywhere. We're just using the station today, but anything that presents a problem that's going to create a pinch point is what we want to train on. That's going to stop the operation. So there's only a couple ways that we have to manage corners. One, we can steer the hose around the corner, call that steering the bus. or you can preload. Right now we'll show you steering the bus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be on the outside of where I need that hose to go. I don't want to be here trying to move the hose because I'm just creating friction. I'm pulling myself into the wall. So bottle to the outside, one way to think of it, just like steering a bus. So here we go. Just guiding that hose around. So the other technique that we have to manage corners is to preload that corner. This is something that you can do if, say, you don't have a person to put at every single pinch point. You can add a little bit of extra hose, and then it'll flake out as you're advancing the hose. Obviously, with a house and you have furniture and all sorts of other stuff in there, it can be complicated. But the goal is to get enough hose just to make that corner and then keep moving. So our nozzle firefighter has made the corner. I'm bringing hose in behind him. And we're running out of room. Stop. I can come back and just drive hose forward. Creating an excess because that's what I have right here in front of me. I've got this extra area that I can bank 10 feet of hose, for example. That way I can skip this pinch point and I've saved myself that extra person that I would need there otherwise.
The key for successful deployment, advancement, and management of hose is just like anything else. We have to practice it. There's no one else in this city that does fire attacks except for us. So being professionals, we need to understand that skill set and make sure that it's honed in at a high level. The key to this is checking your hose loads daily. Every time you come into work, check those hose loads. Make sure that they're loaded appropriately. Don't be afraid if they're not, pull them off the rig. Get an extra rep of pulling that hose line and then reloading it, making sure that your weapon is loaded the correct way so that's going to deploy off the rig the way that you want it to. The other thing to consider is understanding the history of our booster tanks. Our engines are designed a very specific way, and the whole reason why engines started coming with booster tanks is to provide you enough water to perform an offensive attack. And you have enough water with effective water delivery and application to fight 2 rooms fully involved. And so our ability to get to the door, right, that first phase of fast water, getting the hose line off the rig and getting it charged at the door quickly. And the key with that is the timing of sending the water at the right time so that when the firefighter sits down, they have water right there. Then the second phase of that is making entry and advancing that hose to the seat of the fire. If we can do that quickly with the water that we have a tremendous amount of capabilities right at our fingertips to fight those offensive attacks.